Good morning, yogis. Here we are on this sunshiny Wednesday morning, and we are going to change things up a little bit today. So I'm not going to be in the frame this morning because we are using the wall, and it would have been difficult for you to see clearly what either of us were doing because we would have been one right in front of the other. So Kaylee will be in the frame and I'll be over here to cue our class. If you have a wall at your home, which I assume you do, go ahead and take a few moments to move over towards the wall. If you have a block or a book, Kaylee, do you want to hold those things up? So if you have a block or a book, just something that can give you a little bit of a lift while we're in our poses, that would be great. And then also if you have a strap, and if you don't have a strap, you can use a belt. That can also be a tool. Or in a pinch, you could use a rope from your garage or a tie-down strap. So it looks like we've got a few folks joining in, so it's good to have you all here with us. We are going to get started in just a moment, but again, we are using a wall for this morning's practice. We will be using a block as well as a strap. So if you want to take a few moments to go and adjust your mat so you're close to a wall, or find a block, a blanket, or a block, a book, or a strap, or a belt, whatever it is that you'll be using. Now, one thing that I will share with you while you're readjusting is sometimes when we first begin a practice where we know we'll be using a wall, our immediate first assumption is to think that this is going to be an easier practice because we are using the wall. And while that's not totally wrong, in some ways using the wall for support absolutely does make your practice more accessible for a lot of poses, but it does also bring a new element of challenge to a lot of your poses. So this will not necessarily be an easier practice. It will definitely be a more mindful and an opportunity to observe more things. Because one thing the wall does for us, which we cannot always do for ourselves, is it gives us a very hard point of contact to notice where our alignment is. And so a lot of times in poses such as your forward fold or your downward dog, or even just standing in mountain pose, a lot of times we're not fully aware of whether or not we're leaning forward or leaning back or whatever it might be. And so the wall gives you a very concrete indicator of where your alignment is in those things. So like I said, I won't be practicing in front of the camera today just because that would have been difficult for you to see the angles. I will be practicing to the side as I'm cueing, and we'll go ahead and get started. So if you'd like to start with a block underneath your seat and then coming into whatever is your best easy seated pose. And right away you might notice that that block gave a little bit of a lift to spill the pelvis forward, and that might have caused your hip flexors, the hinges at the front of your hips, to feel a little sense of relief here in easy seated pose if this is generally a pose that's challenging for you. We'll close the eyes. Begin by first stretching your arms out nice and far, and then turning your palms face up. And then slowly lengthen the spine and sit up nice and tall. And let's observe the breath as it's moving through the body. Feel each inhale starts at the nose. Picture it traveling through the sinuses, making its way towards the throat. Feel that there's an easy flow between your inhales and exhales. Continuing to watch the breath with each inhale. Picture it now as it travels down the back of the throat. Maybe listen to the sound of your breathing. Feel and watch the breath as it works its way down into the chest. Still find the easy rhythm between your inhale and your exhale. Picture the breath as it travels down through the chest, into the lungs, expanding into space. Notice the inhale and the exhale complement one another. And then picture the breath as it continues to travel further still, filling the lungs up, moving the rib cage. And then feel the rhythm of the breath. Inhale, exhale. Begin to add a little bit of effort to your breathing. As you draw the breath in, feel yourself lengthen the spine, engage the abdomen, reach the head up high without lifting the chin. And as you exhale, keep all that length, but push from the belly in, emptying the lungs. Create a noise on your exhale. Inhale, feel yourself lengthen, awaken, sitting up tall and active. Exhale with effort, empty the lungs, listen to the wave crashing to the shore. Let's do 3 more rounds of this breath on your own. Inhale. Exhale. Breathing in. And then slowly, softly open the eyes, begin to roll your shoulders around. Now we're going to change our seated pose, and I'm going to have you remove the block and then scooch over so your back side is against the wall. Take a moment to recross the legs so that the opposite leg is in front this time. Bringing the arms back out towards the thighs, palms can be face up. We're going to continue to move with that same inhale, exhale that we ended with. As you inhale, feel yourself lengthen the spine, sit up nice and tall. Feel the head reaching up, and then continue to press the head into the wall behind you, which maybe that began to feel different, because for most of us, we allow our heads to fall forward of the body. Listen to the sound of the exhale, and as you exhale, feel the back side of your body connects with the wall. Maybe feel that that's a little bit more presence of the wall. Inhale, sit nice and tall, active and awake. Exhale, breathing out. And here we'll do this breath 3 times more as well. And then on your next inhale, take the arms back so the backs of your palms are connected to the wall behind you. And then sweep those arms up the wall and overhead. Feel the shoulders, the elbows, and the palms. Press them all back into the wall. And that might ask for a little bit of a shift in the way your elbows were bent. It might feel as though the chest is wide open and lifted heart high. Now keeping backs of the palms, or backs of the hands, elbows and shoulders to the wall, begin to pull back like cactus arms. Keep pressing the palms, the elbows, the shoulders into the wall, but then begin to peel your heart up and forward and feel a little bit of a heart lift. Maybe slowly nod your head up towards the ceiling, and then keeping the back of the head to the wall, tuck the chin forward. And here's a great stretch on the back of the neck that normally our heads fall forward and the stretch feels different. Go ahead, bring your head back to neutral. Inhale, slide the arms up the wall, reaching over, take hold of the right wrist and pull towards the left side, trying to stay close to the wall with your back, your arms, and your head. And some places won't touch, that's quite all right, but keep the active movement towards the wall behind you. Inhale, lift up, switch the grip, and we'll go over to the other side. And just notice which parts are trying to peel away from the wall, or even turn away from the wall. Try to feel yourself stay connected with the wall as you breathe in, breathe out. Inhale, come on up. We're gonna lace up the fingers, turn the palms towards the ceiling, keeping your backside connected again with the wall. Bring those hands forward, palms facing the room in front of you, then begin to slide from side to side. And the next time you come back through center, let's pause here. Begin to push your sacrum towards the wall as you roll your chest and shoulders forward. Bring your head down between the arms. And just enjoy that great big stretch. Maybe again, slide from side to side if that feels good. So it's a nice way to wake up, just inventory the body, listening to what it asks you for and doing those things. Next time you come back to center, let's pause, inhale, come on up, bringing fingertips away from one another down to the floor, tenting them into the mat on either side. So here, if we were to segment our spines into 3 sections, the section that goes from the base of the skull to the top of the shoulder blades, the section that goes from the shoulder blades down to the rib cage, and then the section that goes from the rib cage down to the tailbone. We're going to move the spine away from the wall in segments. So keeping fingertips tented to the floor. You can always place a block underneath them if the floor feels far away. We're going to start by bringing the chin towards the chest and peeling away that top segment of the spine from the wall. Just like that, perfect. And then keep holding your belly button in close so that the lowest segment of your spine from below your rib cage to the sacrum stays connected. Begin to peel your middle segment, the shoulder blades and the rib cage away from the wall. Keep pulling that belly in nice and close. Push down and out through the 10 fingertips on either side of you. And then begin to press the middle segment, your rib cage and your shoulder blades back towards the wall. And then the top segment by bringing your head back towards the wall. This time, let's keep fingertips to the floor. And I want you to keep your head close to the wall, your sacrum close to the wall. Begin to lift up from the rib cage, pushing shoulder blades away from the wall. So we're arching the spine towards the center of the room, lifting the heart up nice and high, And then maybe lift the gaze just a little bit. Keep the top segment, the back of the neck long. And breathe here. And then slowly bring the whole back to the wall again. Release the fingers, roll the shoulders. All right. And then slowly we're going to come on to hands and knees so that your feet would be directed towards the wall, but come 2/3 of the way up towards the front of your mat. Let's move through a few rounds of cat-cow. As you inhale, tailbone lifts, belly opens, shoulders peel back. And as you exhale, tailbone tucks, belly lifts, shoulders roll forward. We'll go through a few rounds of cat-cow. And just be mindful that as you're moving through these rounds of cat-cow, you're keeping hips stacked on top of the knees. Arms are stacked, shoulders, elbows, wrists, and that we're just moving from the hips to the shoulders, articulating the spine. We'll go one more round, and then slowly come on back to your neutral spine. And you may need a little bit of adjusting as we move into this first sunbird. Begin to shift the weight so you can extend the right leg straight back behind you and push the heel into the wall. Now take a look back at your toes, and they should be angled straight down towards the floor so that your heel lines up with the second and third toe. And as you push the sole of your foot into the wall, feel your thigh muscles hug the thigh bone. Feel the muscles of your low leg hug the low leg bone. Hug up through the belly so you lengthen the spine. And then begin to shift again so you can extend the left arm forward. Feel that the neck reaches out in the same line as the rest of your backbone, that it doesn't have any funny angles, and that your arm slides forward beside your ear, pushing out through all 5 fingers. Take a deep breath in here, and then slowly come back to 4 points. You can wiggle things around for a moment, and once you're ready, send out the left leg. Push back through the sole of the foot, holding the leg so it's level with the whole back side. Check that the toes are looking straight down to the floor, not slightly out to the side left. And then once you're ready, feel that energy push all the way through the leg, all the way through the body, reaching out through the arm. Hug the belly up close, lengthen the spine nice and long. Hold the hips level, left side to right side, and continue to breathe while you're here. Let's take just one more breath in. And then slowly come on back to your 4 points and take a moment to come back to a child's pose. You can allow the knees to press away from each other. You can feel the arms reaching out further towards the front of the mat. Here in child's pose, you can let the belly soften for a moment. Maybe your forehead comes to rest on the floor, but you could also rest it on a block if the floor seems far away. Now from your child's pose, we're going to come back to tabletop. 4 points, finding balance. Aligning the knees beneath the hips, making sure that the feet are straight back behind those knees. Lengthening the spine. We're going to re-extend the right leg and press the sole of the foot back to the wall once again. Reaching the left arm out and in front of you, find length. And then we're just going to add some movement. So here would be your inhale breath. As you exhale, draw the knee towards the nose, the elbow towards the hip. Squeeze. Inhale, open. Exhale, draw everything in, squeeze. Inhale, open. We're going to do that 3 more times. Exhale, squeeze. And extend. Breathing in, tighten, squeeze. And extending as you inhale. One last time, coming in and coming out. Here, returning to your 4 points tabletop. And then coming back, left leg, pressing sole to the wall, reaching out right arm. Find your deep breath in here. Exhale, pull everything in. Yes, inhale, open wide. Exhale, squeeze tight, trying to find that same mark on the wall as you inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze, and open. Twice more. Reach out. And one last time in and open. And then come on back to your 4 points. This time, let's tuck the toes so you can hover the knees for just a moment, lift those knees up off the floor, and then press back, downward facing dog. Now with this downward facing dog, we can pedal out the feet. Can wiggle the hips from side to side if that feels good. You could even press the shoulders back and forth or shake your head out. Today we're going to walk the hands backwards towards the feet, so you come into a standing forward fold at the back of your mat. And then go ahead and allow your sits bones to rest back onto the wall behind you. And if you need to walk the feet back a little bit closer, you can. Be careful that if you go all the way to the wall with those heels, you might feel yourself slowly wanting to tumble forward. And then letting the sits bones rest to the wall, bring your fingertips into the crooks of your elbows. And we'll just hang here for a moment in our ragdoll. You can sway from side to side if that feels good. By using the wall behind the seat and measuring how far forward your heels have gone, we can become more aware of how heavy we sit backwards into the seat when we're in our forward fold. And that's a comfort zone for most of us. So the more forward and aligned your hips are on top of the heels, the more challenging Uttanasana becomes. Slowly allow your hands to come down to the floor or a block. Then we're going to move into your first halfway lift. Lengthen. Fingertips could slide up the shins. As you move into your halfway lift, purposely bring your seat away from the wall so that you feel the backs of the legs doing a little bit more work, and you feel the upper body, especially your core, holding stronger to find balance in this pose. Exhale, forward fold, release. And let's walk the hands all the way out into a high plank, and then come on down onto your belly. Can untuck the toes and maybe adjust again so that you can slide so that toes don't feel as though they're being squished into the wall behind you. Roll the shoulders towards your ribs beside you. Hug the muscles of your legs into the bones of your legs. So hug the thighs, hug the calves. Begin to feel from the lowest part of your back an active pull and peel up into your first cobra pose. Lengthen the back of the neck as if you're trying to slide your head up and away from the body. Take a deep breath in and then slowly come on down. We're going to do cobra twice more. Hug those elbows in close by your side, so feel that the power of your arms is to be hugging in towards the midline. Engage the legs from the thighs all the way down to the soles of your feet, and then begin to peel from the lowest muscles of your back all the way up to the crown of the head, lifting away from the floor. Feel broad across the chest. Breathe in deeply here, and exhale, come back down. We're going to do it just one more time. Engaging from the soles of your feet, feel everything begin to hug in close. Start peeling up from the small of your back, through the middle back, the rib cage, the shoulders, all the way up the neck to the crown of the head. Hug those arms close. Inhale. Exhale, come on down. And let's make our way back to a tabletop 4 points. We're going to re-extend the right leg out first towards the wall behind you, finding any adjustment you need to make. We're going to send the left arm forward. Take just 1 moment of breath here. Keeping the right foot where it is, release the left hand, and then bring your right leg out to the right side and place the foot down onto the floor. And begin to slide back into a child's pose once again. Now this child's pose might be a more challenging child's pose because your inner right thigh might be stretching out a whole lot more than it did before. And with the asymmetrical movement of your hips, your sacrum might not want to go back quite so far. Let's just take a moment's breath here. And then slowly come on back to your tabletop, returning right foot to its neutral place. Extending left leg out towards the wall, finding your marker. And then reaching the right arm forward, finding your balance. Pause for just a moment, feel everything is alive and active. And then returning the right hand, bring your left foot to the side, press back to a mismatched child's pose. And even though we've got one leg extended out to the side, still feel that as you're here in this child's pose, you're trying to hold things level from the left to the right side of your body. Just notice those differences. And then begin to come back and bring everything back to its neutral tabletop. Tuck the toes, press the hips high, coming out, downward facing dog. This time let's take a deep breath in as you look forward, walk on up and into your forward fold. So just noticing here with the absence, there's no wall. How does this forward fold feel? Maybe tuck the pinky fingers into the elbows once again. Maybe notice here if you are falling back into the hips or heavy into the heels of the feet. Try to find an even distribution of the weight. Bringing fingertips to the floor, halfway lift, lengthen, and then purposely pull the hips forward as if you're bringing your head towards the room in front of you. Feel that that's more active through the backs of the legs, more active through the core, trying to establish balance and control here. And exhale, forward fold. On your next inhale, open the arms, rise all the way up. Breathe deep. And bring hands together at heart center, Samastihi. So I'm going to have you take a few steps back until your heels are connected with the wall. And as you bring your heels to the wall, bring hands back to the heart. Roll your shoulders into the wall. So we've got heels connected, maybe different parts of your legs are connected. Try to press the shoulders into the wall. Try to keep the head connected to the wall. And then begin to draw your belly button towards the wall as if it's being pressed through your spine into the wall behind you. Now soften those toes. Give a little wiggle and lift up of the toes. This is our equal standing pose, Samastihi. Inhale, let's reach the arms up high. Take hold of the right wrist and lean to the left side. Notice where body parts tried to bow away from the wall. Without forcing, because we never want to force, but see what you might be able to draw back towards the wall and how this changes your crescent moon standing stretch. Inhale, come back up, switch the grip, and let's lean to the other side. Breathing while you're here. Inhale, come back up. We're going to step the feet away from the wall. Sweep those arms up nice and high, steeple mudra. And then point the pointer fingers as if you're trying to tap them into the wall just above and behind your head. Again, never feel forceful, so however far they may or may not go is perfectly fine. Let's just take one breath in, come on out of the back bend, bring hands to the heart. We're going to do that twice more, just like we did with Cobra. And I want you to remember when you were in Cobra pose, we started the active engagement from the soles of the feet all the way up to the crown of the head. And we're going to do it the same way here while we're standing. Sweep those arms up, steeple mudra. Feel the soles of your feet holding the earth. Engage the legs from your calves, your thighs, your hips, and then begin to curve from the lowest part of the back into your back bend. Heart is lifted. Arms are strong, but they're coming in close to the body. They're not pushing back. They're not manhandling this pose. Inhale, come on out of it, hands to the heart. And then we're going to do it just one more time. Arms reach up, steeple mudra, and back bend. So feel that hug from the bottoms of your legs all the way up through the thighs, all the way up through the hips. From the lowest muscle group of the back, feel that they're working to engage the back bend. Come on out, hands to the heart, and then let's step all the way up to the front edge of your mat. We're going to do that without the wall. So let's just sweep the arms up nice and high, grab the right wrist, and lean to the left. Notice how it's different without the wall pressing into the back. Inhale, come on up. Switch the grip, coming back and over to the other side. Try to recreate the same energy that you had when you were using the wall. Inhale, come on up, and then we'll keep the hands reaching high, back bend. And feel powerful in your back bend, never as if you're falling down. Inhale, come on up. Hands come down through the heart, forward fold, Uttanasana. Halfway lift, lengthen. We're going to plant those palms and step out with just the right foot coming into your lunge. And then we're going to take a few moments to adjust. Slide back just a little bit further so your right foot is close to the wall but not yet touching. Okay, perfect. Now begin to lift on up, bringing fingertips over the left thigh. Begin to slowly push the heel back as if you're trying to and maybe will connect with the wall. Feel that that recreated a strong and powerful back leg. Oftentimes in our lunges, we focus more on the front leg. Check in with the front leg that we're holding the knee at a 90-degree angle, or slightly behind the ankle, never beyond. Let's take just one more breath. And then exhale, hands come down. We're gonna step both feet forward and fold. Halfway lift, lengthen. And then planting palms to the floor, we're gonna step out this time the left foot. Just making those adjustments so you're close enough to the wall, and then bringing fingertips to cross over the right thigh. Begin to stack up. Push the heel into the wall as if you're holding the wall in place, and that's going to firm up and engage the entire back leg. Now feel how the hips are, especially in your front hip. If there's any pinching, if it feels as though your body is starting to lay onto the front thigh, just give a small little lift up out of the hips while still holding them low. But feel the upper body lifting up and towards the ceiling. Take a deep breath in, and then hands will come down to the floor, stepping feet forward. Halfway lift, lengthen, nice flat back. We're going to step out the right foot, This time as you lift on up, I want you to start check marking that back foot so it's 45-degree angle, and then come on up and into your warrior one. So you might need to step the back foot back, or the front foot back just a little bit. Do you need to move the mat? So pressing down through the back heel. And when you look back for warrior one, the whole of the back heel is connected to the wall, and the pinky toe edge of the foot is rolled into the floor, so you've got a full foot behind you. And what we've done is we've created a little bit of a roll down the back leg, so the engagement is coming down from the glute, spiraling down the leg to the outer edge of the heel behind you. Take one more breath, and then let's bring hands down to the floor and step feet forward. I'm just going to take a quick moment. Halfway lift, lengthen. This time as you plant the palms, we're going to step the left foot back and turn out so you've got a 45-degree check mark. Begin to lift on up. As you're rolling down the back heel, creating that 45-degree check mark, your left side body might also want to pull back with you. And this is where that spiraling engagement comes in. Push from the glute down through the thigh and towards the heel, but pull from the hip forward so that hips are staying squared towards the front edge of the mat, coming into warrior one. And just breathe for a moment here. Feel power through the arms and feel all the way up to the crown of the head that there's no lazy parts, that everything has something to do. Inhale, breathe. Exhale, release. Hands to the mat, stepping forward, fold. We're going to show the warrior two variation now. Halfway lift, lengthen. Planting palms to the floor, let's step out the right foot. This time, turn that foot all the way out to the side and try to line the edge of the back foot up with the edge of your wall. Inhale, lift up, and then we can begin to turn. So unlike warrior one, with warrior two, we've spun the back foot out. So you've got a whole outer edge of the foot connected with the lower edge of the wall, and you allow your back hip to turn away from the front of the mat. So we're opening up the hips so they're now more lined up with the long edge of the mat rather than your front edge of the mat. Take a moment to see if you can reach fingertips into the wall behind you. And if you've got a very long wingspan, maybe push out through the palms and see if maybe a whole hand can touch. And it's quite all right if it doesn't, right? Let's take one more breath in. Exhale, hand over hand to the mat, stepping forward, fold, halfway lift, lengthen, and let's bring out the left foot this time. Making those small changes, so lining up the outer edge of the foot. Right toes are going to stay forward facing while we're here. Arms extend. So think for just a moment. Your back arm, which is right now the left, is reaching out, trying to touch or connect with the wall behind you. But your front arm is reaching out as if you're trying to tap into a wall on the opposite side of the room. And the body between them is still working up in a vertical line from the tailbone all the way through the spine to the crown of the head. Even though there's a small rotation of the neck, we're not shifting or rotating or changing the shape of the body. It goes all the way up north and south. Let's take a deep breath in, and then exhale, hand over hand to the mat, stepping forward, fold. And this time on a great deep breath, inhale, open arms, rise up. Let's bring hands to the heart. So pause for just a moment. Maybe close the eyes while you're here. Feel the way things are balanced. We're going to do 2 straight-legged poses. One will be a pyramid and one will be triangle. On your inhale, sweep the arms up. And on the exhale, bring the hands down to the floor, fold. Halfway lift, lengthen. So we're going to step out with the right foot and come back to the warrior 1 setting. So a 45-degree angle where the heel touches and the toes are tipped out. Now your back foot's going to need to slide back just a little bit. There you go. Now begin to straighten your front knee. Yes, and lengthen. So grab hold of your block and just let the block give you a couple of extra inches so that when you hold on to the block, the hips are never going to touch the wall in our pyramid pose, and that's not the goal. But feel as though you're sending the hips up and back towards the wall. Engage your entire back leg, so a whole foot is connected. And then feel as though you're pressing sits bones up towards the wall behind you, but pulling right hip bone forward towards the mat beneath you. Now you can come into a halfway lift while you're here, lengthening from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. So that's one variation. Or you can come into a forward fold while you're here and just let everything be a little bit more avalanche-y on the top half of the body where it rolls down from your tailbone towards the crown of the head. So both of those are great options where I take a deep breath in, and then looking forward, begin to step on up. There we go, great big step. Halfway lift, lengthen. This time let's step back with the left foot, creating that 45-degree check mark. So the toes are still angled slightly forward, they're not completely turned out. Begin to straighten your front knee, and then push that left hip down and forward. Again, always being mindful that we're doing everything lovingly and encouragingly. We're never shaming that left hip because it wants to lift up. We're just reminding it of where we'd like it to go. You can find the halfway lift variation of this pose, or you could come into the forward fold and relax the upper half of the body variation of this pose. Finding the balance between left foot, right foot, where they're both doing an equal amount of work. Neither is outshining the other. Keep drawing that left hip forward and down. Hold. 3, that's it. 2, and 1. Gaze forward, step forward, and release. One last pose, halfway lift, lengthen. Step back with the right foot, and this time we'll come into the warrior 2 footing. So line up the back edge of the foot with the wall. We're going to then come all the way up from warrior 2 first. So come on up into your warrior 2. Align those hips so they're looking towards the long edge of the mat rather than the front edge of the mat. Here, begin to straighten the leg, but keep hugging your thigh muscles to the thigh bones so that we're not locking out. We don't want to tax and stress the knee joint. And then begin to reach your front fingers as if you're poking into the wall in front of you, and exhale, tip for triangle. Could use the block to give a little bit of height. Your front hand could come down to the floor. It could come down somewhere along the front leg, or it could float in the air. Begin to imagine that the wall is now along the back side of your body. Try to bring your top hip and your top shoulder towards that wall. Gaze could look down or up. Keep the neck nice and long. Soften the toes on the back foot. Lift up from the side body. So here we don't have to feel quite so much abdominal core, but you want to feel a lot more of your obliques and even a lot more of your back side muscles rather than the front belly muscles. When you're ready, begin to softly bend that front knee. Inhale, come on up, warrior 2. And then hand over hand to the mat. We'll step feet forward and fold. We're going one last time, halfway lift, lengthen, and let's step out the left foot. Turning those toes out to the side, so we've got a 90-degree turn out on the back foot. Coming up into first your warrior 2, aligning your hips towards the side rather than towards the front. Begin to straighten the front knee, and as you straighten the front knee, engage those thigh muscles a lot more so it feels as though you're drawing thighs up and in towards one another. Lean the body forward, and then begin to tip over. And again, hand could come to the low leg. It could float in the air. You could find a block to give a little bit of lift, or maybe your fingers come to the mat. Begin to feel these back side body muscles as well as the obliques engaging to draw you more towards the imaginary wall at the back of your body. Hips and shoulders, and we're just going to breathe here. Begin to bend the front knee. Come on up, warrior 2. Hand over hand to the mat. And we'll step forward and fold. And then inhale, open arms, rise up. Bringing hands to the heart. And shaking things loose. I'm going to do last standing pose, which is our standing balance for today. And I'm going to have you back up to the wall. So here, keeping your left heel maybe about 3 inches in front of the wall. Yes. And then slowly begin to lift the right foot off the floor, bending at the knee, bending at the hip, and draw that right thigh towards the belly. You can scoop it up with your fingers holding the shin. So slowly notice how much you're leaning into the wall and gently release the right foot. Where I step that foot back about halfway further towards the wall than it is right now. Yeah. And then I'm going to have you do that same exact thing. Lift the right thigh, right knee, hug it into the belly. Here, take a moment again, observe if balance feels better, how much of the wall you are or are not using, and then slowly release. We're going to do it one last time, bringing your left heel to the wall, bringing your right knee towards the belly. Notice how much the wall is supporting you, and it's okay if it is. This time, let's move into a tree. Begin to take your right knee out towards the side, maybe pressing it back towards the wall, and then begin slowly to attach the foot to your thigh, your calf, or your ankle. Hands could come together in prayer at the heart center, or arms could reach up overhead. Now, just like we did in our first standing pose with the wall, begin to draw your belly button back as if you're trying to push it through your back and into the wall. And let's just hold this tree pose. We're here for 3 breaths. It's okay if your tree is blowing in the wind. As you exhale, slowly release, shake things out. We're going to start with the same 3 variations on this side, taking your right heel about 2 to 3 inches away from the wall, and then begin to draw your left knee up towards your belly. So bring your right heel 2 to 3 inches away from the wall. So when we're using the wall here, maybe this feels like a great place to stretch because we do have a lot of support at the back of the body. Slowly release the foot, taking your right foot in halfway back, and then drawing the left knee towards the belly once again. Noticing how high, how far, how comfortable it is. And then slowly coming down. And this time bringing your right heel to the wall, drawing your left knee towards the belly. Once again, just observe the balance, the support, the strength, the stretch. Let's begin to move into a tree. Bring your left knee out to the side, and then attaching it to the thigh, calf, or ankle. Finding your variation for 3 breaths. And then slowly coming back down. Release and shake everything out. We're going to come away from the wall, have your block and your strap handy, and then we're coming down onto your seat but facing the wall. Grab some water if you'd like. So slowly we're going to come onto your back side, and as you do, scoot your seat closer in towards the wall. So as you lower the body, push your bottom towards the wall. Now again, depending on how you feel here, if it feels good for your hips to have your seat connected to the wall and your legs straight up for a legs up the wall variation, that is one option. If it feels better to be slid back a little bit further so that there's a distance between your seat and the wall, we can do that as well. Just find a few moments to wiggle around and get into that perfect spot. And as you come into this legs up the wall, we can wiggle the toes. You can roll the ankles around. And then allowing your left heel to rest onto the wall. Bring your right ankle across the left thigh. And take your right hand and just place it at your right thigh, just below the knee, and give a little press, as if you're trying to angle the knee towards the wall. So it's a supine pigeon variation. And then just letting the right hand rest on the thigh. Keep feeling the presence of the hand, giving a small little press towards the wall. And just hang out here for a moment. If you want to go deeper, you could reach your hands through for the back side of your left thigh or over for the back side of your left calf. And begin to bring the legs towards you. Now notice that in the movement of that transition, your head and shoulders might lift up. Try to relax them back down once you've gotten here. Now for me, I personally prefer to do this by holding on to my right leg and scooping that towards my chest like the bar of a roller coaster. But you can find any variation that feels good for you. We'll be here for another few breaths. And slowly begin to release the right leg, sending it back up the wall beside the left. And once you're ready, we can take the left ankle across the right thigh. Using the hand to just first give a little bit of presence. Trying to find the best variation for this supine pigeon on this side, because it may not be the same here as it was on the opposite side. And if you'd like to reach through for the thigh or reach over for the shin or scoop the left leg towards your chest, you can come deeper into a pigeon pose. And then finally release. You can wiggle out the legs. So our last pose with the wall that we're going to practice today, if your legs tend to fall out and away from each other, you could take your belt or strap and tie it around your legs so that they'll stay close together. If they don't fall apart, then you don't need to worry about that. But we're going to use the block and place it underneath the sacrum. So you might need to bend your feet into the wall and lift your tailbone up. Find a good space where that block doesn't feel as though it's pushing into bony parts of your back, and it also feels as though it's supporting your seat. And here, if your legs are beginning to fall out into the side, you can just grab hold of the strap, wrap it around the legs, and then cinch the tail end through the D-rings to hold it in place. Make the adjustments however close or distant from the wall that you are. And then allow your arms, or reach your arms back behind your head. And then let the elbows softly bend and let your shoulders relax. So I'm going to spend a few moments here in this waterfall variation of legs up the wall. Feel the heels connected with the wall. Feel where maybe the low halves of the legs are or are not connected. Feel where your thighs are or are not connected. Notice where your seat is or is not connected. Notice where your body connects with the block. And then notice the gap space where your body falls off of the block but has not quite yet met the floor. Notice the places where the rib cage is and is not connected to the mat. Notice where your shoulder blades are and are not connected to the mat. Notice where your shoulders, your upper arms, your forearms, and the backs of your hands are and are not connected to the mat. And notice the heavy head supported by the floor. Notice and observe that the back of the neck is floating above the mat. And then picture breath entering the nose, traveling through the sinuses. Feel the even rhythm of your breath, the inhale and exhale. Picture the breath as it works its way through the throat and begins to enter the body. Still feel an even rhythm with your inhale and your exhale. Picture the breath as it enters into the lungs, filling up as you inhale, and the even exhale. And then picture that as your lungs expand with the inhale, the rib cage moves to allow room for the lungs. And the even pace of your inhale and your exhale. If this space feels good for you and you'd like to spend the remainder of Shavasana here, please do. If you'd like to come away from the wall off of the block and begin to settle into a more traditional expression of Shavasana, please do that as well. We'll stay here for just a few more minutes, allowing all the work from this practice to fully and completely integrate into your entire being, benefiting you in all ways possible. If you are still in a legs up the wall variation, begin to draw your knees towards your chest. If you are already in Shavasana, you can also begin to draw your knees to your chest. If you're in legs up the wall, push the feet to the wall, removing the block from beneath your body. And then we can all hug the knees into the chest, maybe just rock from side to side. And then rolling over onto one side, left or right. Pause for just one moment more. Begin to make your way up to seated. Bringing hands to the heart center. Thank yourself for taking this time. Thank yourself for noticing, for observing, and for listening to all that your body is asking for. Send yourself love, peace, kindness, and send these things out to all beings everywhere. Namaste. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed our wall yoga practice, and we will look forward to seeing you again next time.